on the cloud.
Got it. All right. Good morning. How are you, Amy?
Morning. I'm so good, Rachel. How are you?
Good. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm excited to talk about money. Which is
Yes.
always everyone's favorite subject, which is sarcastic, as the folks listening will see, because we're actually going to talk today a little bit about why money is such a taboo topic. And it's really unfortunate that folks don't like to talk about it. Our society it's just like repeatedly told us that it's an uncomfortable situation. It's an uncomfortable topic. It's not okay to ask other people about money. And what I find to be so frustrating about that is there's so many people, like my clients. I'm just one financial wellness coach. I'm sure there's lots and lots of other ones that deal with folks that are going through such similar things. And that's why it's so frustrating to me that money is such a taboo topic, because my clients are not coming from vastly different places. If they were all to communicate with each other, they would learn so much. They would get so much valuable information. And not only would they learn, but they would also realize they're not alone, right? I mean, I'm sure you see this too, is that, and this is with a lot of things, not just money, but you see it where folks think, I am going through this myself and nobody else is going through it. I have, X number of dollars in debt and I'm uncomfortable with the way I'm handling my money, and I just don't feel good about it, but nobody else can understand that. But that's not true. And that's what's so frustrating around money being so taboo, is because so many people are in such similar situations. And if we never talk about it, how will we know? We will always feel like we're alone. And I just, I don't want folks to feel like that. I want everyone to feel comfortable, because shame and embarrassment is only going to unfortunately lead you just sort of into that same pattern, instead of encouraging you to get out of that and to do more. I don't want to just keep talking, so feel free just to jump in, but I could talk about this forever. I'm very excited about this kind of stuff and passionate about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'll add to that, Rachel. And just for everybody who's watching, listening, Rachel runs a business where she specifically is focused on helping people learn how to have a game plan with their money. And it's called a spending plan, right? And that is also called a budget for some people. But spending plan is really just a little bit of a shift in focus of, what are we telling our mind when we're saying this? And for me, I run a business with my husband where we work in multiple different areas of the financial services industry. And we do two things. We educate people about money, because when people know better, they do better because of it, right? And education with money, unfortunately, is kind of non-existent, really. And taking that another step further, education and planning, and actually sitting down and knowing what does every single piece of this picture look like, and putting them together, pulling it together into something that is now simple and easy to follow. What I've found, Rachel, which is I'm sure the exact same that you're finding, is people not talking about money. I've noticed this for myself, just being vulnerable here. It's really easy to push it aside and not pay attention. What do I have? What do I maybe not have that I should have? Where am I going? Because it's not a part of our day. And talking about it can be really difficult if you don't even know where you are. And there's this shame and embarrassment. And I've found that my thoughts of I'm married, right? Where we are with our money, sometimes my thoughts are way worse than what the reality is. And that's really the power of having a written game plan, because it helps you realize, well, it's not that bad if I just made this little tweak or this little thing. It's not so terrible after all. And yeah, I think that really helps with the communication aspect, is understanding that money is always evolving. It's always changing. There's seasons in our lives where money can be a little bit harder. I know I'm in one of those seasons. We're there right now. We have two young boys, 6 and 8. I just had a birthday party on Friday, and I had no clue how much I spent on a 6-year-old birthday party. And I do that professionally.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, and then I thought to myself, was I overspending? Or was it maybe not as much as most people do? And the only way that I would know if I was normal would be to talk about it. But yeah, it's taboo. It's like, talking about how much I spent on a birthday party feels a little uncomfortable, or maybe a little vulnerable. And so do you find that a little bit too, Rachel, with like the little things with the people that you work with, that it's like, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of people fear, and I think it's a real fear. I understand this. They fear being judged when they do talk about it, whether or not it's something simple like what I spent on my kid's birthday party, what my vacation cost, or how much I have in debt. People just fear the judging. But what I just hope folks realize is that, let's say you're in a room with 20 other people and you tell your story, I will guarantee you that regardless of what your story is, at least one other person in that room will resonate with what you're saying. So, while some people may judge you, that's their problem, right? That's not your problem. You shouldn't worry about what other people are thinking or feeling. This is your story. I am so sorry. See, I've got some watchers here. They're watching.
I love it. They're learning too.
But yeah, and so, and I think that that's one good thing about what I do and what you do is like, we do this for a living. And so our job is to not be judgmental. Our job is to have these open minds. And you and I have probably heard so many different stories. It's kind of like, you go to the doctor for something and you're like embarrassed about it. And the doc's like, yeah, I've heard millions of things that are much worse than this. So yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot of things. And as you just said, like me and you both, we're not perfect either. I mean, the other thing to remember is 100% of people use money, need money, and make mistakes in money. We all do. I mean, it's just natural. Let me get him out of this room.
Yeah, you're fine. And mistakes are how we learn. And I think that that's maybe one of the most important things we could take away this short, a little bit of time that we're going to be chatting today, is that mistakes are okay, and admitting our mistakes are okay as well, because that gives us a place of, now we know what does not work. And then we can move in the direction of, okay, let's pivot a little bit and let's see what can we do that maybe changes things up so that it becomes more of an empowerment. And I think about this. I think about being in my 20s with money. I had very narrow vision because I had very little experience with money. In my 30s, I started to become a little bit more wise with my money because now I have learned through experience the painfulness of it. And then now going into my 40s, I'm hoping to become a rock star with my money, because now I come from a place of, I have 20 years under my belt, where I don't necessarily want to say I've mastered it, but I've definitely learned what to stay away from. And I've learned how to become more comfortable in my own skin. I think with income, that's one thing that people get really weird about, is, I never want to talk about how much money I make. But the reality is, I mean, if you were an engineer, or you were a nurse, I could do an easy Google search and find relatively what you make. It's not really a secret. Debt is not really a secret. There is an average amongst all Americans, whether you make 20,000, 30, 50, 100,000, of how much debt a household will have, because it's around basic human nature. So all of these things that we are hiding inside, they're all public information for the most part. We kind of have an idea.
As a very very personal story. My boyfriend found out at his job, there was an intern that was making more money than he, an intern straight out of college with 0 days of experience, making more than he was. So if they weren't talking about that, he wouldn't have known, but he went to his boss and he asked for a very substantial raise, and he got it. So, I mean, that's just a good example. And I don't mean like, let's go around with a bullhorn and run around and tell everyone exactly every penny that we're making, but have those conversations with people. And you said a good word, which I love it, love it, love it. Empowerment. Empower is such a great word. I use it all the time. That's why I do what I do, is to empower people to make money decisions that makes them feel good. And so if they're talking about things and they're realizing, oh gosh, I'm not alone, other people are feeling this, or there is a way out of this, like I have all this debt and a lot of people think I'm just never going to get it paid off. I had one of my first clients was exactly like that, never going to do it. She sat down with me, we made a plan, and this was years ago, but she's completed it. So like there is a way out. There are other people that are feeling just like you do. And once you have that plan and you can see it, then you start feeling empowered to be able to make those better choices.
Yeah. And I think maybe, and this might be something to kind of like end our conversation, we'll go in that direction, is having the plan actually makes it exciting.
Yes.
Because now you have a marker and you get to go check.
Mm-hmm.
You could start with the case of debt. You could start with the smallest debt and you pay off that credit card that maybe is, a couple $100 balance. And then you go, yay.
Yes. And then you feel good. Yes.
Oh, this is exciting. And then you move on to the next one and you go, another win. And it was a bigger one this time. And that snowball effect just becomes so exciting.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things a lot of people don't realize with debt is there's programs out there. This is something that we do with our clients as a debt stacking program. We actually use software that's created by Equifax, which is one of the major creditors. They create a plan where we can teach people how to get out of debt and improve credit, but then also get out of debt without having any more out of pocket. And so what a lot of people think with getting out of debt is I have to have more money than I'm, putting into it now, but that's not the truth. The truth is if you have a plan and a sequence, it actually will pay itself down tremendously faster. I mean, some people are debt free within 2 or 3 years, not making a single payment higher than they were. But it's the plan. The plan is the gas. That's the power that gets behind it and really starts making some major movements. So it is fun. It's exciting. I mean, you and I think it's exciting.
I love it
because we've studied it and we've learned it, and that really goes back to that education. The education is just like that's the power.
And we've seen the success of it, right? I mean, we've seen people be successful with it. And, it's one of my favorite things to say is it's really not about how much you make, but what you do with what you make.
Yeah.
So like for me, I bought my first house when I was making $35,000 a year. I was not making a lot of money. I bought my own house. I had friends who were making double what I did and couldn't understand how I was able to do so, because I was just doing different things with the money that I was bringing in as opposed to what they were doing. So more money is always great, but unless you learn those tools and some of that education and you have that plan, if you make more money, you're just going to spend it. So that's why it's important to have that plan.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Any last tips you have, Rachel?
Oh gosh, we went the gamut, but one other thing you said I would love to just touch base on real quick, because you talked about your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and it is important to know that money is a lifelong journey, right? You're not like, I know that there's some financial education, thankfully, that is happening in high schools now, and that's great. I don't exactly know what the curriculum is, but I've heard about it and I think it's great. But it is lifelong. Like I think it's very important to start when you're very small, as a small child, your parents, but you don't really quite grasp, the full understanding of money until you're probably honestly in your 30s.
Sure.
Everyone's a little different, and so it is lifelong. You've got to start small, kind of create some of those money habits and reach out for help if you need help. There's nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't feel shame and embarrassment around reaching out for help, around your debt, around your money situation, because we all have money mistakes we've made and money situations that we have that are probably relatable to a lot of other people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Where can we follow you for money tips?
Yeah, so my business is called Effortless Budgeting, and I am on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, and I have an Instagram called Effortless Budgeting. And then my website is effortlessbudgeting.com.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. So exciting. Well, thanks, Rachel. This is
Yeah,
super fun.
I always love our chats, Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. If you have any questions on anything that we talked about today, as you can tell, we love this discussion. We would love to have a discussion with you one-on-one. Amy Ruggieri with the Ruggieri Group. You can find me on Facebook at I run a group that's specific to money called Smart Money Moves dash the Ruggieri Group. And we'll go ahead and we will link both of our social media accounts and the description for this, and you can tag yourself, join, and follow us for more. So thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good
Have
one.
a great day.
Take care.